Good morning. It's early morning today, and I wanted to make a short video now. These few months I've been working on being and respecting myself and understanding what I need, when I need it, my own routine, life routine and whatnot. And without getting too much into my life, I know some of you are like this and are going through this. I know some people definitely are. And even though I don't see you, I know that we are like on similar roads. We're on, not only we are similar, but we're on similar journeys. And it's good to be different, by the way. But yeah, just acknowledging how my life was, because when you're in something you don't realize it until it's over, you know what I mean? That's when it kind of hits differently. Or I actually did realize it, but you know, after it happens there's always like a stage where you feel differently, and you start to not only become more aware, but you start to kind of heal and you start to find yourself. So my whole kind of, I don't know, Morley, why did I just say Morley? Mostly my teenage years, I've been chasing perfection. I've been chasing to be, like, whenever I'd be at school, whenever I'd be around my parents or at school or anything that I do in general, I would either not do it or I would try to make it perfect in some way, and it would sabotage me. It would, you know, either I wouldn't start something that could have turned into something amazing, you know, for me or for others, or I just wouldn't really complete it because I was searching for that perfection. And it's always been on my mind, but I haven't been like 100% sure why I've been that way. And the main reason is probably, one of the main reasons definitely, is I wanted to be worthy, you know, worthy of being myself, I guess, you know. Because I needed a separate identity with the people that were abusing me, you know. I had to be the way that they wanted me to be, or I had to kind of not revolt against it fully, because if I did that, then I would be pushed out of the family, I would be, you know, alienated, my life would be harder, you know. So I would search for perfection. I would it would affect everything. And when I tried to communicate with my parents, when I tried to tell them, look, this is wrong, what you're doing specifically is wrong, or your perspective is not right, they would often use, if I was right, because sometimes I was wrong, but the times that I were right, it would be like, why are you trying to create an argument? So I would try to find a way to explain the situation really well and explain myself and my emotions, my view, as clearly as possible, you know, so that they don't find excuses. And I learned some things that I want to share. Whenever they try to say that you are trying to argue with them, or an excuse like, you know, it's not like that, maybe gaslighting as well, you didn't see it correctly, it's differently, blah blah blah, then you have to kind of, what I did, my strategy was, at the start I would mention like the facts. So some facts, I would just say, if a car, I don't know, if a tire is punctured, then a car will go slower, right? For example. And then they would confirm that it's a fact. And then I would be able to say, then why did you do this? Because I have proof that you have done this. So then after they've verified it themselves, I would say what my point is. And this would usually, to these kinds of people, narcissists in like particular I'm talking about, they would find an excuse. They would say, usually they would say you're trying to create an argument, but you're not. You're just trying to be clear with them constantly, trying to be yourself, trying to be honest, trying to be fair. But fair doesn't exist with a narcissist. You can't be fair in any way, because they matter, their views matter, their agenda matters more than anyone else's. And I didn't quite understand this for a long time, and for like the past 5 years or so I understand this, and now I'm just talking about it. So that's been a struggle, and for like the first time in my life I'm truly away from them. Before I would live myself, even though I was living with them. I had like a solo life, but now I'm actually fully away from them, and life is beginning to feel different, to the one that I was used to. And different not in a way of like the traditional sense where you're like an adult and it's different, but I realized like, wow, life was really tough when I was with these people, even in good times. And it's not natural for it to be that way. They would artificially make it however they want to when you live with them. So these times I try to find myself, and I have my own routine, I have my own everything, I guess. Just be natural. And these people, they give you anxiety. They give you like, you choke on the things that you can actually do, and they like it because it's like an excuse for them to dominate you, and for you to rely on them. That's the main point. They want you to rely on them as much as possible so that they remain relevant without having to do more work. So when they don't argue, when they say you're trying to create argument, they can't really say that, but they still do anyways. So I know that happens even when you do this strategy. And you have to my mind went blank right now. You have in the strategy you use self-validation, so they validate themselves because they pay more importance for what they said and what they did compared to whatever anyone else says, whoever anyone else is. And they don't admit this, but they do it. Like, it's very visually obvious that they do this. They pay importance to whatever that they say or whatever view that they have over anyone else. So even if you prove something externally, they'll find an excuse. They'll be like, it's outdated. These people don't know anything. They're only a few people out of the many. You can't prove that. Blah blah blah. They'll try to find an excuse any way that they can, constantly. So when they validate themselves that something is true, they can't really do that. So, and it keeps it short also. It doesn't make you ramble about, this is how I feel, this is the way it's supposed to be, this is how people are, blah blah blah. And they just they don't want to hear that shit, because when I talk to them, they usually zone out if you talk to them in that way. So you learn to be as basic and direct as possible, clear, concise, and yeah, it becomes sort of a skill that you kind of forced to adapt and improve. Because in general, these people, they don't like natural stuff. They don't like a natural lifestyle. They don't like natural anything. Um, so for example, they could like natural food, but they like to have a routine of mixing natural food the way that they want. Always, like they constantly feel like, or they want to, not even just feel like, that they want to control everything around them. You know, it can be people, it can be things, and that's what life is to them. For them, that is life. That's what breathing is to them. So when you cut off that short, when you don't give them any even explanation, even strategy, even anything. I'm just saying the strategy if you need to use it, but the thing that collapses their world the most is you just not being there whatsoever. You know, when you're not there, when you're not present, when there's no explanation, then there is only their mind and their thoughts. There's nothing to manipulate, you know, because you don't exist. Your thoughts don't exist. You've made no statement, you've made nothing. So that's when they get bothered and their world collapses because there's nothing to get energy from, you know. I'll leave it at the last thing, and that is they sometimes are portrayed as like vampires, narcissists, but I also have like another outlook of it, and it's similar. I see it as them zombies, but with brains. That's how I see a narcissist, because they're not alive; they've died, and yet they think, you know, still they think without a heart, and they try to eat everyone else that exists, that is alive, like zombies. um yeah, I like metaphors, whatever. See you in the next video.